Good evening. My name is Jay Gerber, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Ask Me Anything. This evening's program is a little bit special because this evening marks the 6th month that we've been on the air. We come on the air once a month with a wide range of topics. All kinds of topics, ranging from how to get your automobile smog certification. We've talked about tax preparation. 2 months ago, we talked about spring gardening. Last month, let me think, what was it? Dog training. And this evening, we have another very special, very interesting program regarding cooking, and a special kind of cooking. And we have a very special guest this evening. I'd like to introduce Madeleine Kenefick, a local cook and cooking instructor who many of you know from the time you spent on the, if you've read about her in the Davis Enterprise. I think she's retired the cooking prize. I think they've made you a judge of that contest. Right. Is that right, Madeleine? Mm-hmm. Madeleine writes about cooking. She has a radio program that airs weekly on KDVS, and she's here this evening to answer a lot of questions that many of you may have. And I'd like to remind everyone that this is a call-in program, and if you have a question you'd like to ask Madeleine, please call us at 757-2419. Madeleine, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I'd like to ask a couple of very basic questions to get started. And sure. First of all, how did you learn to cook?
Well, I watched Julia Childs.
You watched Julia Childs?
On black and white TV.
Yes.
And that got me started, and I learned from cookbooks. And we didn't have all the cooking shows we have now, but I kind of didn't cook before I got married. So
this was when you first got married that you started to pay attention to
cooking.
I
got married sort of late for that time, and I figured I had to stop eating chicken over the sink and actually make a vegetable and a piece of meat, fried a piece of meat. It was pretty awful, but it was a beginning.
Trial by fire.
Right, exactly.
Now, what is it that you especially like about cooking?
Well, I find it's a fabulous creative outlet. I guess that's what kept me at it. It was a way that I could express myself when I didn't have that many other avenues of self-expression. And I, even though everything I made in the very beginning wasn't that great, I felt I could kind of fool around with it and make it better, and it gave me a lot. And it's really become a career for you. It has, yes.
How does your husband feel about the fact that it's become a career? Does he like that idea? Are you still cooking at home?
I am, yes.
Good. That's your number one laboratory still?
He's my priority.
Now, you have a radio program. I think we mentioned that in the introduction. And
KDVS 90.3 FM.
90.3 FM. I think we're all familiar with KDVS. And when does your program air?
9 o'clock on Thursdays. And we'll be going through the spring, and then we'll have a hiatus in the summer, and we'll be back in the fall. Okay,
so that's 9 a.m., 9 in the morning.
Yes. Maybe we'll have drive time when we come back.
And is that a call-in program?
It is.
Like this one?
It is a call-in program.
All right. Remember, folks, 757-2419 if you have any cooking questions. Now, Madeleine, how would you characterize cooking and eating trends in Davis? We think of Davis as being a trend-setting community sometimes. Is this true in the way we cook and eat?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I know that Davis probably isn't much different from other affluent communities, college communities. And most people are very busy, are working very hard, and I don't think there's a lot of cooking going on. There's a lot of buying foods that are partially prepared, and there's an interest in food, it seems to me. People like to recreationally cook on the weekends and put their efforts into that kind of cooking more than...
I sense that's true, and I also think there's certainly an awareness of cooking and the ingredients in a meal in a community like Davis that may be a little different than just across the country.
Absolutely, because for one reason we have a fabulous farmers market, and I think that we are so lucky to be aware of when fruits and vegetables are in season, because if you just have supermarkets, you know, you can get asparagus any time of year.
Year-round, it's flown in on a...
Here we can get it when it's in season, and we can wait for it and get it at its peak.
Do you shop on the Wednesday market or the Saturday market like most people?
I shop both farmers market. I also shop in the supermarkets
Yes.
and the fruit stand, and I do shop in lots of different ethnic markets. We even have a few ethnic markets here in Davis, as you know.
Okay.
Did you know we have ethnic markets in Davis?
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Well, I know there's a Chinese market.
An Asian market.
An Asian
right?
market,
and
yes.
we also have a Middle Eastern market near the old Albertsons.
Madeline, excuse me, we have a caller. I think Carrie. Oopsie. Carrie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question for Madeline?
Hi, Carrie.
I hope this isn't too far off topic. It's food related.
Okay.
Well, that's right on topic.
If Madeline could share some of her favorite toddler recipes.
This sounds like a young mother.
yes.
Toddler recipes.
An old mother.
An old mother.
Actually, our toddler ate everything we did. I bought a little happy grinder, one of those little baby food grinders, and then I realized, hey, I don't have to do that. I can put it in the blender. And I used to put the, toddlers are past that, right. Toddlers can, as long as it's not too spicy, and because their little taste buds are so sensitive, I think they can eat just about anything if it's not highly salted and hot and spicy, and if it's nutritious for you, it's going to be fine. They're chewing okay, right? He's got his teeth.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any recipes that, or things that you remember feeding your son that he liked particularly well that you could pass along to?
Off the top of my head, let's see now. Actually, anything that was made with eggs was usually a sure winner. For instance, an omelet, the kind of omelet we'd be eating, even if it had sautéed mushrooms in it. If you introduce these things to kids when they're little, you have a better chance at having them grow up liking them. Any kinds of
Cereals?
Well, Carrie knows.
Ah.
She knows a lot. She's looking for something different. And toddlers, God, it's been so long. My son is going to be 25. I tell you what.
Enjoy food?
Did he enjoy food? He did. He was rather typical. But what he would do is, he would say, "I want peanut butter," because all the kids only had peanut butter, and he would want only peanut butter. So I hid the peanut butter. I mean, what's the mother to do? You just hide it, and you say, "Sorry, honey, there's no more peanut butter." So he actually had in his little metal lunchbox, he had little artichoke hearts, and he had some unusual things. He was having what we were having. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give this some thought, Carrie, and the next time I see you, I'm going to come up with a few ideas for you to vary Peter's diet. Okay?
Thanks.
All right, thank you
Carrie,
for calling.
thank you for the call. Just before the call came in, Madeline, you were talking about some of the trends in Davis today. People going to the market, getting the fresh food, spending time in their kitchens on weekends when they do have a little bit of time. How do your methods answer or assist some of these trends?
Well, see, I don't think many people are following my methods. My methods are to relax and enjoy yourself and not be so bonded to the recipes. I think I use recipes as a jumping off place, and some cooks do that, and I think it's great if they get to a point where they can say, I know how to make most of this, and this is a good idea, I'll steal that idea, and then kind of have fun with it. I mean, cooking should be play. It should be a source of enjoyment and not just getting food on the table.
You sound like my wife, because I'm still at that stage where unless I can read it on a recipe, I'm uncomfortable.
It's all
and she'll come in, I'll be halfway through, and she'll throw in a few more splashes of this and a dice of that, and say, yeah, just roll with it, enjoy it.
It's all a question of confidence.
Yeah, I think
and you have
that's
confidence in
probably right.
other areas, but you probably don't have it yet in the kitchen. And once you develop that sense of, I can do this, you will grow immeasurably.
Perhaps after this evening, I'll be inspired to really spend some time in the kitchen and hopefully get some accomplished and get a little bit accomplished and a little bit relaxed.
I recommend it.
Say, I see you have a pin on your blouse. It's kind of an interesting pin. I see some
Yes.
French. What is that pin about, and where did you get it?
I got it in Paris. We were there for our 25th anniversary, and it was actually in the bread, baked in the bread. And you know, French bread is fabulous and it's cheap.
Yes.
And this bread was, you know, instead of being $1.50, it was like $3 or something like that. And I kept looking at it and saying, gee, that's really nice. I really like that little French baker. It's from the bakery Pierre. It has a little oven and a little
Pierre
French
Bakery.
baker. And I came outside. My husband would always stand outside while I did the foraging for food for our picnic lunches. And I'd say, honey, there was this really beautiful little pin embedded. It wasn't a pin. I put the little pin backing on it when I got home. I said, it's more money. It's $3. And he said, honey, it's 25th anniversary. Go for it.
Uh-huh.
So I took it home and put a pin on it. I wear it when I give my bread workshops. As a matter of fact, on the video that we'll see a little bit of tonight, I have it on, and it looks like a logo, but it's actually this pin.
The pin. Now, we do have some footage, and this footage is of you making bread or getting ready to...
Well, we're actually, it's something we did for Davis Community Cable TV.
Yes.
And it's this method that I've developed.
It's a little different, isn't it, your method?
It is. I don't use recipes. I used recipes for many, many years, and I didn't bake that much.
Yes.
And it was always a big project and an ordeal, and it took so long, and I was so nervous. I was so afraid it wouldn't rise, and I was always looking for a warm place. And then I just realized, I had this epiphany that most of these recipes were pretty much the same, and that it was a question of proportions, and that I could feel how the bread should feel.
Really?
So that's...
Well, I wonder if we could ask that this footage come on now, and perhaps you could explain what's happening. There you are.
There I am.
In the
See what I'm
kitchen. Is this
doing
your
now.
kitchen?
Yes, it is.
All right.
I'm putting flour in a bowl, and you will notice the absence of any measuring cup.
That's
Watch
right.
this. Here it goes.
Oh, I see the pin there.
I have some
So
flour
in goes.
there.
So
I'm
you
adding
don't, I mean,
some.
that's not 2 cups, or that's just the right amount. You
Yeah,
just
well,
sort of...
I'm going to make a lot of bread.
What kind of flour is that?
That's probably there's some whole wheat, 100% whole wheat flour in the bowl, and I'm adding some unbleached flour, which I prefer. I can't tell the difference in the taste with bleached or unbleached flour, but I like the way it looks.
All right.
So now what I'm going to do is that, it's just 4 ingredients, right? Salt, yeast. There goes the yeast.
There goes the yeast. Not just kind of the...
Yeah.
We won't
A little
say
more.
how much yeast there is there, because
Well,
it just...
it's
the
a
right
very
amount.
small amount of yeast for quite a lot of flour, and you will. It doesn't have to be precise. It really doesn't.
Yes. This is fascinating.
And then I need a little salt.
A little salt. I see that going in now.
And just. I think I'm going to use it all. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
That should be enough. And then, how do you know if it's got enough salt in it? Well, you taste the dough once it's dough. You put a little in your mouth and say, well, if it tastes like something, then it's just right. If it's salty, then it's too much salt.
Too much
so you
salt.
add some flour and water.
Oh,
That's sourdough starter that's going in now. And now, of course, I have to put water in.
Yes.
Now, this is the part that scares my workshop participants. Because
They're always afraid
well,
they'll end up with too much water.
pretty dramatic. Watch what happens.
Okay.
I'm stirring the ingredients a little bit, and now
The water's not on yet.
not yet. But
Okay, you're just mixing.
is it on? No.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. The water is on. Now, when I started doing this, I would put it on little increments because it was kind of scary. But I realize it's a lot of flour, so it's going to take a lot of water.
lot of water.
And my goal is to incorporate everything. That's my goal. I just want to get it all
in there
incorporated
together.
so that everything is mixed up well.
Yes.
And when I have that, it'll be very sticky, of course, and so the next goal I have is to make it not sticky. And you accomplish that by adding flour a little at a time.
So the water's still going in, or have you turned it off
I
there?
believe I have turned it off.
Okay. So,
I believe it would
so
be a
you're
flood if-
now sensing whether the consistency is
Yeah.
what you want.
I'm actually talking about other things.
All right.
I'm not
I see
just-
there's some audio that we're not picking up
Yeah,
here.
no. The audio is not on so that I can talk and tell you what
sure
I'm
that,
doing. But at any rate,
it has just enough salt in it.
once it is fully incorporated, I just take it over to the work surface table
Yes.
and start adding some flour so that I can smooth it out. And
How often do you bake bread at home, if I might
I
ask?
bake. Oh, look at that!
Oh boy, we're getting fancy.
High technology.
Yes.
I bake. I don't know, every couple of months. I bake a lot, though. I make lots and lots of dough,
Yes.
and then I freeze the loaf-sized lumps of dough.
You can freeze it before it's baked.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of this.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to. When you're getting ready to have fresh bread, you just have. It
Bring
only
out-
takes 30 minutes to bake an average-sized loaf of bread.
Do you let the dough defrost naturally?
Oh, yes,
Or,
I throw it out on the counter.
yeah, and then about
Overnight.
overnight.
And if I bake it in the morning, otherwise it just takes a few hours
Yeah.
to defrost.
Wow.
So the trick is, usually people think you need 4 or 5 hours to bake, and you do if you're going to do everything all at once. And then you only end up with these recipes with 2 loaves of bread. And I mean, what is that? So I would much rather.
Rather make a big batch and just
I would much
use
rather.
it all month.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what a wonderful aroma. Fresh bread baking. Oh,
Yes.
it's the best.
You said it.
It's the best. Well, this is an unusual technique that you've developed here. And how long did it take you to develop this method of
Oh,
making
it took
bread?
years, and I actually went through cookbooks, entire bread baking books, and I finally got it. I finally realized that these recipes are very, very similar. They just vary the ingredients slightly. This one has dill in it, this one has whole wheat flour, this one has sourdough, this one has, cinnamon, raisins. You can make sweet, wonderful Easter breads and Christmas breads. You would just add a couple of ingredients for those, milk and butter and sugar, and it would soften the dough.
Yes.
And then you'd add the sweet things, the candied fruit and the nuts and things.
But fundamentally, it's the 4 ingredients.
It's the same, yes.
Yeah, and then you can add and doctor. And
Exactly.
that's very interesting. Can you use whole wheat flour in your
Yes, as a
technique?
matter of fact, that's what I was using.
That was one of those, the flour that went in there. Are there any kinds of flours or yeasts that you shouldn't use when making bread the way you make
You
it?
shouldn't use old yeast.
Old yeast. Bad
The
stuff.
little yeast that they sell in the store is dated, and I don't recommend buying little yeast because I don't want you to just bake once in a while. I want people to bake all the time.
Uh-huh.
And you should buy it bulk because it's so expensive in the little packages, and it's so cheap
Now, when
buying
you
it by the pound.
Yes. Now, when you say old yeast, how long can one keep yeast and keep it fresh?
The thing is, you
and-
don't want to take chances. In most recipes,
Here, what are we doing?
oh, we have a
We're back
call.
on the B-roll here, and there you are kneading. Is this
Oh,
called?
that's right. This is called kneading.
Yes.
And notice I'm kneading it in the bowl.
Right in the bowl where you.
Why am I kneading it in the bowl? Well,
Why are you kneading it in the bowl?
because it's very sticky, and I'm trying to get it not so sticky before I turn it out on the table because it's a much easier cleanup. So
I like that idea.
it really is, and I've got a little dough on my hands, but that's to be expected. Can't bake dough without getting sticky fingers. I can't bake bread.
So, what are
with
you
it.
going for more flour here?
Yeah, the flour I add a little bit at a time because I don't want to add too much.
Madeleine, we have another phone call, and
okay.
let's see what it's. Hi, who's this?
This is Donna Lott.
Hello, Donna. Donna
Hi,
Lott's
Donna.
on the phone.
Yeah,
Do you have a question for us this evening?
I do. I was wondering, she had sourdough starter, and I wondered, does she make her own, or how?
I do, Donna. I make it myself. You can buy it, but it's kind of expensive, and it's just flour, a little bit of yeast, and water. And what you do is you mix it up and put it on the counter overnight, and even less time in the summer when it's quite warm. And you'll see it begin to ferment. And it won't be ready to use right away. I like to put it in the fridge, maybe in a glass jar, cover it, put it in the fridge, and let it develop some character over time. And then every time you use it, you might have a little water on top, a little liquid on top, which looks a little bit murky or brackish. Just pour that out and smell it. Make sure that you haven't left it in the refrigerator way too long. Just make sure it smells like it's a nice sourdough starter instead of something that's rancid. And when you use it, be sure and replenish it with a little extra flour and water. And you really will see a difference. I think you can make very good bread without sourdough starter, but it is fun to use. And I think it's much better than the sourdough breads that you buy, which seem to be too tart or too sour for me. And I don't mean San Francisco sourdough breads. They've got a lock on that, and I think it's the water. It just doesn't travel to our area. So try it and see if you like it.
Donna, do you bake?
Well, I haven't for quite a while, but...
Am I inspiring you to start up again?
Yeah, so I might, you know.
Great.
I also had a question about adding in extra ingredients.
Yes.
Could you say a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, on the video, you can watch me doing a sourdough bread. I don't know if we have that footage here tonight, but I just incorporated manually, and the nice thing about it is when I add my raisins and nuts, for instance, to this whole grain bread, I can use lots of raisins and nuts because cost is not the bottom line. You know, a home cook has this advantage. We're not worrying about making a profit. We can use the best ingredients and we can use plenty of them. So everything really is, you know, this idea of abundance is a real edge that we have as home cooks and bakers.
Do you ever put soy flour in?
You know, you can use any flour you like. I love to go to the farm, to the co-op and buy the little, they have all these bins of different flours, and I have used a myriad of different flours and experimented, and it's really a lot of fun to do that. And I highly recommend that you do that. And another thing that you can do if you don't want to do it that way is you can buy like a 10-grain cereal and add some of that. And then you have 10 different grains that you can just pour in one quick motion.
Thank you for your inspiration.
Okay, thank you for calling.
Thank you for the call, Donna. Well, listen, we've seen you making your bread with no recipe, and it's just kind of by feel and sense. You use the bread in your home, of course.
Yes.
Does it make good gifts?
Oh, it makes the best gifts. Don't bring it to somebody who's French because they don't appreciate it, because they don't bake and they don't need to. But anybody else would just, anything you made, especially home-baked bread.
And it's unique, it's home-baked, and it's
a wonderful gift.
It's a recipe that's really not a recipe. It's just kind of the way you...
What I would love to see is people who start baking this way. I would love to see them teach others.
Madeleine, do your cooking principles apply to other types of food? Other kinds of cooking, I should say, beyond baking?
Yes, as I mentioned before, I don't really stick to recipes. I get ideas, and like any artist, I'm a thief, and I steal ideas, and I'm very relaxed. It's kind of like, when I cook, it's kind of like all the cabinet doors are open, and I'm not cooking. It's like making art. I'm not starting with the beginning of something and finishing it and then starting something else. I'm working on different parts of the meal and thinking about textures and colors and tastes and fragrances, and I do pretty much cook in a very free way.
You know, honestly, I've never really thought of cooking as an art form, but it really could be.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're kind of approaching it from the way you approach it, where you're letting your imagination and creativity
it's a lot of fun.
Enter into the...
You don't want to...
Get locked into this...
You know, recipes are the reflection of somebody's taste, not necessarily mine. And most of us, we see we see a recipe and it seems like it has too much salt or too much sugar or too much fat, and we say, well, I'll make it the first time the right way. But really, if we trust our instincts, we can make it the right way the first time.
Trust our instincts. I like that very much. Now, I understand you're having a cooking adventure in France fairly soon. Tell us a little bit about France and what's happening.
I am going to be staying at a house in the south of France, and there's a kitchen there, and there are markets nearby, different markets in different villages, and I hope to do some cooking while I'm there. And I really can't tell you any more than that because I don't know what will develop.
Are you going to be recording your experience at all?
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah,
I've already started writing everything down just in preparation for going. Instead of being a year in Provence, it's going to be a month in Provence.
So there might be a little something available for the holiday next year?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Have you been to France before?
I have, but only in Paris, and every time I talked to anybody, they answered me in English. But this time, I'm hoping to find French people who haven't learned English before they die, the older ones.
Yes.
And I'm going to practice my French with them. I'm going to force them to speak French with me.
Now, the French have a reputation as being, if not the finest, among the finest cooks in the world. Do you agree that they are a little bit unique?
They're wonderful.
And what makes French cooking kind of a step above?
I don't know. I think that there are many other cuisines that are on par, and in our country we have come so far that even the French will pay homage to some of our chefs.
Yes.
I think the French, I can't really speak to French three-star cuisine because I'm going to be eating in my first three-star restaurant in Paris this year. My brother is treating me. But I know that French home cooks, and I have more of an affinity with the home cooks.
Yes.
They say that a French cook will, let's see, how do they say that? Will live for a year on what an English cook throws out in a week. And I cook this way too. I throw very little out. I use everything. And it's so, see, people really can't do too much if they're not buying food. You know, many people open my fridge and say, oh, you have so much food in your fridge, Madeleine. And you have to buy food, and you have to make enough so that you have something left over to start the next meal. You shouldn't be starting everything from scratch every single night.
Yeah, that'd be
it's too hard.
Hard.
Yeah.
So you have, it sounds like you have work in progress, maybe.
I do. I always have several things going that I can work from.
All right. We have another call, and let's, hello there.
Hi.
Who's this?
This is Suzanne.
Hello, Suzanne. Do you have a question this evening?
Yeah, I do. It's about cake baking.
Cake baking?
And it's just a quick question. Every time I've tried to bake cakes from scratch, and usually they're chocolate cakes, they fall apart on taking them out of the pan, and I don't know if I'm over mixing, if I shouldn't be using the kind of flour I'm using, because I use a soft, like I've used soft as silk, the cake flour that you get, or am I not sifting enough?
Oh, this is not Suzanne, my French teacher, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Suzanne, hi. You sounded so familiar. This is just the kind of question I was dreading. But but I brought a book. You know, this program is called Ask Me Anything, and I thought, oh my God, well, they can ask me anything, but I certainly can't answer everything. But I brought along this book, which is
Professional Cooking.
Yes, and it has all the answers. And I thought someone might ask a question, about how cakes fail, because cakes often do fail, and there are so many reasons that it boggles the mind. Poor volume, too little flour, too much liquid, too little leavening, uneven shape, improper mixing, batter spread. I mean, you can go on and on. So what I'm going to do, Suzanne, since you're my French teacher, and I like you, I'm going to teach you how I make cakes. And I'll tell you briefly on the phone, and this is for somebody who makes a lot of cakes, you will notice that they all require the same ingredients. This is similar to making bread, right? They all have flour. They all have, what else? Tell me, Suzanne, what else do they have?
Sugar, eggs, baking soda.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right, they all have,
semi-sweet chocolate,
Okay.
either powder or chopped up.
right, if you're making a chocolate cake, it's going to have chocolate in some form. So basically what you want to do is combine these ingredients and stop worrying about it.
Okay.
Okay, and then you'll be, I'll have to bring you in some cake. And then you'll believe
Sounds
me.
as if the two of you have a few more things to talk about beyond the French lesson the
Right.
next time you get together.
Right.
Suzanne, thank you for the call.
Thanks a lot, Suzanne.
Okay, sure, thank
See you
you.
tomorrow.
All right. And
I have a test tomorrow. Hope
you do, your French test. Well, I'm glad you're studying French
Yes,
before
well.
you're leaving this month, did you say?
the end of the month,
End of the month?
right.
Boy, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
But you see, it applies. It's the same as baking bread.
Yes.
I mean, the ingredients, the proportions are the same.
Madeline,
Oh,
our
I bored you. I'm
time is
sorry.
running out. You haven't bored me at all, and you haven't bored our listeners at all, and I wish we had another 30 minutes, but I see that we're about out of time. Let's remind everyone one more time when your KDDS program airs.
Oh, it's 9 o'clock on Thursday morning.
9 a.m. Thursday morning. It's a
90.3.
30-minute show.
Yes, and
So,
we take calls, and we love to get callers.
All right, and let's have everyone remember that. I'm going to be listening this next Thursday. I'd like to thank Madeleine for being here this evening.
And also, please watch the video when it's edited. We will have this video.
The video that we've seen this evening.
On DCTV, on this channel.
Wonderful.
So it'll come up soon, and please keep your eyes open for it.
Okay, Madeleine, thank you so much. I'd like to thank all of our
Thank you.
viewers for being with us this month, and we'll be back in June, second Monday at 8:30, same time. And until then, I'd like to say goodbye from our guest, Madeleine, and from myself, Jay Gerber. And thank you for watching Ask Me Anything.